Radio.
Pure, dead, brilliant, fantastic.
talkSPORT.
Do you know, it's the perfect excuse for any child. What is? This. Some of us are born with a dislike of vegetables. And that might not strike you as particularly... You think, wow, I've heard greater things. Well, those who balk at the very thought of broccoli are likely to be born with taste buds which are highly sensitive to sharp taste, while those who love the vegetable find it hard to register the bitterness. Now, this research didn't go on in a school in the UK. It actually took place with American scientists, said the aversion to vegetables may be the body's way of keeping us healthy. It's known that the chemicals behind the bitter taste stop iodine from working properly in the human body, but iodine found in seafood and some vegetables and processed by the thyroid gland is crucial for growth and mental and sexual development. And people living in areas where iodine levels are low may have evolved a dislike for foods that prevented them from making use of what little iodine there was. Why I mention this to you? Well, simply this. Isn't it good to know that if you can't stand vegetables, that's okay. It's all right not to like them. That's soaking, you know, and perhaps you're just like me listening to the radio at 4 o'clock in the morning, half asleep. It's all right not to hate vegetables. It's like a scene from The Simpsons, isn't it? Marge! It's all right not to hate vegetables. Vegetables don't have to be necessarily good. Has this confirmed what you've always felt? 08 704 20 20 20. 08 704 20 20 20. We're also talking about religious beliefs in the UK and how we have to look at them very carefully lest we find ourselves in a damaged situation, you know, like damaging people's beliefs, their feeling of living in a safe environment. All that's important, because passions run high. I'd like to know your thoughts on that. 08 704 20 20 20. 08 704 20 20 20. We heard a spokesman for the Lib Dems, higher education, charming bloke, eating a bit late, but you can't have it all. And he was very sincere that he thought they were all going to pull together, it was all going to be great. Just a straight question from me to you. Do you think this conference will end with Ming Campbell as leader of the party, or do you believe they'll be vying to change around before much longer? 08 704 20 20 20. Hi, Adam, live in Harrow.
Oh, hi, Mike. Hello,
yeah,
there.
sorry to keep waiting such a long time, but...
That's all right. I was just chucking away listening to that politically correct chat from the Liberal Democrats. Same old stuff.
No change there, then?
No change there. No change there. It was really Abdullah that got... I was listening to what Abdullah was saying, and he and I would agree that it would be wonderful if Islam, the followers of Islam, could develop in this country to a point where they can not be incensed by or by the merest thing, or be seeking to be incensed, which is what it seems like to me. But of course the trouble is that demands work. Abdullah seemed to feel that given time that would happen naturally. I'm not so sure. I believe we have to move towards possibly more of the American system, whereby we say we will not have, we will not put up with fundamentalism within our midst that actually goes against and threatens the morals of our society. If I can give you one small example, 10 years ago I saw a program on the television. I thought, I can't believe what I'm seeing. Are the police going to break in here any moment? And it was Abdul Hamza, or whatever his name was, the chap who led the Finsbury Park Mosque with the hook hand. Yeah. And he was giving lectures, and had lots of other people giving lectures, on how to bring down passenger planes in the cause of Islam. Now, this is what they were doing. It was actually they'd sneak the cameras in, and they were giving these lectures on terrorism in an enormous hall. And basically the authorities must have known about this because it was on the television. It was on the BBC. Or the ITV, whichever, I don't know, it doesn't really matter. And yet nobody did anything because they thought, well, they're just mouthing off. The trouble is, they are poisoning the minds of young Muslims. They are making these young men virulently anti-Western, and that is a danger to us, and we saw what happened at 7/7, and it's going to keep happening unless we make some changes, and that means that moderate Muslims have to step up to the plate and say enough is enough. We're not going to stand with these firebrand preachers in our midst. We're not going to let you brainwash our children. You know, we do not want this to happen. We want to live at peace in this society, and then they have to be backed up by the police and by the government, and that means certain changes within the government that we can't really work. For instance, within the Human Rights Act, we've got to get rid of that because we've got to take some pretty firm action against people in our midst who would harm us. And if you get those two things, you have the will to do it, you can make a start and move towards the road that Abdullah would like to see. But if you just allow people to poison the minds of these young men, it's just going to get worse and worse.
See, I feel better already from having heard from you.
Well, I'm glad about that. But, you know, I feel quite passionate about it because I think that the heat is cranking up here. No, and in order to douse the flames, we've got to take some positive action, and we need to do that with the moderate elements of Islamic society. And I feel that there are moderates, there's a lot of moderates there, but they're afraid that if they stand up, they won't get the backing of the police and the authorities. And I've heard some of them actually say that, and I can appreciate that. It's a two-way street. We have to help them, as well as, you know, it's not just you can't paint all Muslims with the same brush. There are good Muslims, moderate Muslims, who want to live at peace in this society, and who would turn around at the Pope's speech and say, well, you know, that's his view. As far as I'm concerned, he's wrong. Silly old duffer. Who cares? You know, it's my religion. It's my business, not your business. And I don't care what you say about my religion. I'll just carry on practicing it. And that's healthy. But when you say you cannot insult my religion, you cannot draw a cartoon of the Prophet, or I will kill you, then you cannot. We're heading for conflict. You know, we are not the sort of society that they want us to be. And you know, those fundamentalists, they have to be dealt with.
What brings you to be up this time in the morning?
Well, I was working late, and I listened to your programme. I tried to get on earlier, so I thought, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll hang on and do some washing, so that I can get to speak to Mike at some point.
Oh, I love it when people say things that are just, you know, I've got the bourbon biscuits in, dear. It's safe to come home at last, you know, things like that. It's just so reminds me of home. Did you hear that piece of news we just came out with about some people reacting badly to vegetables and naturally don't want anything to do with them?
I did, yes.
Does that you? Are you one of those?
No, I love my vegetables, but possibly because I think I've been told how good they are for me, so I might be brainwashing myself.
Yeah.
Because as a kid, I didn't like actually spinach and things like that particularly.
Really?
But then, do any kids really like them? I'm not so sure.
Well, I used to love roast chicken when I was a kid.
Oh yeah, I like chicken.
I like roast chicken with spinach.
Yeah.
And I still love spinach. Absolutely.
I do now.
I get quite excited when there's spinach.
Can't get enough of it now.
No.
But I wonder whether I brainwash myself. Mind you, I take multivitamins as well, which is why I'm 50 years old and I've still got brown hair. I'm sure of that. I'm sure if you see, we're all suffering from vitamin deficiency these days because there's not enough vitamins in our food. So you take a multivitamin, you take take vitamin B and things like that, and your hair may stay there longer.
Good.
It may not.
There's a guy at work. He suffers from a cotton deficiency.
What deficiency?
A cotton deficiency.
Cotton?
Yes, his trousers are shrinking.
Yeah, well, I suppose that would be, yeah.
I'm not saying who it is, but you know, my lips are sealed. Nice to speak to you, Adam.
Okay.
Have a good night. Take care. Bye-bye. Right, 08704 20 20 20. 08704 20 20 20. That's the number. This is talkSPORT, 1053 1089. You can text on 81089 and there'll be a 50% charge in addition to your usual costs. Or you can send me an email to talksport.net. Here's one from Peter. He said, I grew up, Mike, with Action Man as my favourite toy. I had loads with jeeps, tanks, helicopters. Do you remember the Red Devil, he said, with working parachute? I do. I remember three pals arguing whose Action Man was in charge. And just at that point, my folks came back from the shops and they bought me a Field Marshal outfit. Oh, ultimate, the Field Marshal outfit. Great memories of a great toy. By the way, the old realistic hair and gripping hands were the best. Yes. Well, I won't mention that to anyone. I'll leave that entirely to everyone's imagination. I'm Mike Allen. This is talkSPORT on 08704 20 20 20. Hello, Craig.
Oh, Mike, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. You having a good day?
Oh, not too bad, not too bad.
Good.
I must admit, mate, I'm a bit furious
Are you?
about all these Muslims, right, who live in this country. They take our benefits, they take all the things this country offers to them, and then they turn around and say they want this Sharia law. And they come to this country, you know, what do they expect? You know, they should live by our rules and what we've agreed in a democratic society.
So
what we believe in.
So fundamentally, if they want to come and live here, they've got to live by our rules, and if they have Sharia law, it can only apply in banking.
In banking? No, it's nothing to do with banking.
Yes, there is.
No. It's all about...
Yeah, banking.
Yeah, Sharia law is their belief, and that's what they want, and it's across the board. Banking, it's everything.
Well, I don't want to argue with you, but I'll tell you now, HSBC have got Sharia accounts.
Well, that's fair enough. You know, if they want to go to HSBC and get a bank account that's for Sharia law, fair enough.
Sure.
But the moral stand of Sharia law is completely it's stupid. To be honest,
it can't be stupid, can it? I mean, come along. They've been going for a few years. These boys.
What to stone somebody to death is, we'll carry on with that, shall we?
Yeah, well, that's not Sharia banking. That's Sharia stoning, isn't it?
No, Sharia law. If certain people break certain laws, they get stoned to death.
Mm-hmm.
So you think is that acceptable in today's society?
Not for me, it's not. No.
Not to me, it's not either.
But it's still not Sharia banking.
But bank law, you know. Bank law and...
Yeah, anyway, Craig, it's been real. Thank you very much. Ken is in South Wales. Hello, Ken.
Good evening. Good morning.
Yes, either or.
And I'd like to talk about food, please.
Sure.
People eat with their eyes.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I didn't like broccoli. And my wife said to me, "Why don't you like broccoli?" And I said, "My mother told me. She don't like broccoli." But I tried it, and I loved it. My wife, she didn't like spaghetti bolognese. We went to Spain one time, and she had a poor meal, and she looked at my plate. She said, "You going to finish that?" I said, "No, I've had enough." She said, "Can I try it?" And she ate it, and she loved it.
There you are.
Got any comment on food?
I just think people that like most things are very lucky. You know, there are some people that really can't take ice cream, or they love ice cream but they can't take chicken or whatever, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, I suspect, after reading that report out of America, I'm prepared to believe almost anything about food.
Yes, I quite agree with you.
But it seems interesting that some children, because there's nothing more vehement than a child saying, "No, I can't stand it, I don't like it," and they really can't. Now it would appear that all those long talks from parents to children are based on little more than rumour.
And what their parents tell them.
Well, their parents can talk to their blue in the face. If you don't like broccoli, you're not going to eat it, are you? No, that's the end of it.
Until they try it.
Until they try it. Well, if they might have tried it and they realise in these taste bud tests that it's far too acidic for them, then they're never going to stay with it, are they?
But do you agree with me?
Who do I agree with?
Yeah.
Pretty much as I said, actually. You know, the person who's happy to have a balanced palate when it comes to food and can enjoy it quite a lot. I think that'll be the mob I'll go with. We had an opportunity the other day to meet some people who put together a project which is to record the sound of the planet, and had a meet with them, and we did an interview, and they promised to keep in touch with the programme, so you'll probably hear them joining Ian Collins and Chessie, keeping up to date with their travels around the world. So, are we ready with this one, John? This is the boys who run Wave recording studios in Soho in London. They're behind the whole operation, and this is what they had to say.
Wouldn't it be a good idea to be able to move your mortgage without paying hundreds of pounds in set-up fees? We think so too. The fee-free mortgage from Abbey. Pay nothing on booking fees, nothing on standard legal fees, nothing on valuation fees. Pay absolutely nothing to remortgage to us. Call 0800 80 80 80, visit abbey.com or your local branch for details. Abbey. More ideas for your money.
Available on selected tracker products. Early repayment charges apply for 2 years from completion. Free valuation up to £1,100. Calls recorded.
You can hear a lot more with DAB digital radio. And prices start at under £50.
Where's your father? Where's your father? Where's your father, referee?
You've lost touch over the past few years. You ought to give him a call and tell him that you love him.
Find out how much more you could hear with a DAB digital radio at lovemyradio.com. 3 million people already have one. You should be next. www.lovemyradio.com.
I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to shoot you.
Right, old sir.
What a senseless waste of human life. For unlimited DVD rental without the hassle, click talksport.net and sign up to mymoviestream.com.
On 1089 and 1053 AM and Freeview channel 723. Talk Sport.
Two young lads, Josh Gardner and Craig Loftus, are travelling the world in a camper van that somebody told them was a Ferrari, but it isn't actually. Their mission is to record obscure sounds in order to create one of the best sound effects libraries in the world. It'll be used for film, television, post-production work. And in attempting their quest, Josh and Craig, who we'll be speaking to a little bit later on from somewhere very windy, seem to be getting into a few scrapes. There's a chance and also a scary encounter with the Provisional IRA. All their mishaps, as you probably know if you've been following their adventures so far, are being blogged at www.smellyvan.com. Now, this wasn't just their idea. The project commissioners, Warren Hamilton and Johnny Byrne, who are with us in the studio this morning, are themselves well-respected sound engineers. They set up a Soho post-production facility called Wave Recording in 1999. So these guys are probably the secret power behind smellyvan.com. They're with us this morning, and I think it's about time, boys, we asked you, what was the motivation?
Well, good morning, Mike. Well, the motivation really is very much down to the fact that John and I have been working in the advertising industry now for many, many years, and we've seen a lot of adverts come through our books, and we purchase a lot of sound effects, and they're very expensive things, sound effects, I'm sure you know, being the working at a radio station. And the important thing for us was that sound effects run out. They're like kind of visual photographs. They do have a life expectancy. So we figured what we'd do is record the world from now, from 2006, to have a nice imprint of the world over the next 18 months from right now, and save ourselves some money from buying new sound effects.
Well, your partner in all this is Johnny Byrne. So, Johnny, is there a secret part of you that longs to hold in your hand all the audio patterns of the planet?
Oh, the power.
The royalties. The royalties. You'll be
it's all about the royalties, isn't it? But I think it's
A lot of it started from frustration that constantly working with sound effects that are so anachronistic, so much is out of date, that that spurs you on to want to go and get lots of new recordings. I mean, the world is constantly changing, so there's a big desire to go out and see what's happening today.
Now, you brought along a handful of photographs, which I looked at, and they are beautiful, but they do remind you that we're talking about a beautiful planet. And I also want to hear your Irish ducks. The boys went out against all odds and took on board the Irish ducks.
Yeah, well, this is interesting. It's so funny. This story's actually doing the rounds at the moment because the guys did get themselves caught up in Southern Ireland with a rather mad Irish farmer who, to be fair to him, he was trying to help us out by generating some farmyard sounds.
He was a very, very keen man.
So, he decided to move out onto his duck pond and spend the next 10 minutes trying to generate a lot of quacking, and I think we've got that.
Let's have a listen to the Irish ducks. I love ducks. They're so territorial, aren't they?
I love ducks, especially with orange sauce.
Yes, but no harm can come to you. Some of the stuff you've gathered so far, you're at Old Trafford, I understand.
Yeah, Jocelyn Craig.
The sewers of Paris. That must have been a bit of a one-trick pony.
Well, yeah. I mean, they've spent a lot of time around. Well, the sewers of Paris and the sewers of Amsterdam and the sewers of everywhere. Really, they've kind of wandered around the whole of the degradation of man, effectively getting sounds, but some good things as well.
Now, there was a bizarre situation at the Paris Pigalle, the red light district. Well, what happened there? I mean, the guys turned up, they were carrying sound recording equipment, which professional sound recording equipment isn't anywhere near as discreet as Uncle Fred with the Dansette. So what happened in Paris?
This is the ladies of the night who don't quite like to be filmed, I think. But I think this was in Amsterdam, actually, I think, as I have it correctly. But I think, Joss and Craig were wandering around the red light district, and the microphone is actually pretty much as big as your head. It's a surround sound microphone, records 7.1, lots of little microphones, little holes all the way around. And it creates quite a scene if you sort of walk around holding that 6 feet up in the air. People want to know what it is, and these ladies of the night took kind of disliking to it and banging on the window to show their disgust.
So the guys are out there, as we know, but how do they get what they're recording back to you? It's a space-age technology. I was just thinking if it might not be safe with such glamorous transportation equipment, if they leave it parked up overnight, to go for a curry or something.
At the moment, it's pretty straightforward because we're still working very much right now within Europe. I mean, the water's yet to be tested as we move further afield, but currently most of the sound is all placed from an 8-track recorder down to a DVD,
right,
which is then DHL'd back to us.
Right.
I don't know if I can mention a product name.
Why not?
Why not? Well, DHL.
Yeah,
it would have been Amtrak, but they decided not to.
Oh, yes. No, but it's all placed on a DVD. It all comes back to us. We get like a bunch of CDs.
Yeah, once a week we get a jiffy bag that arrives with a load of DVDs in it.
Right.
Yeah. The week's recordings.
Yeah.
Do you still rush to hear what they got? I mean, because when the first one comes in, you think,
I barely sleep.
Yeah. Depends what good stories they've texted us over the week, really.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing, though. They're very much in contact. That's the great thing. We get a daily text. I mean, currently they're in Oslo at the moment, which is great. They're on the kind of Scandinavian side of Europe. But yeah, we get a daily text. We're here today. We're doing this today. So that's kind of really exciting in itself.
So let's have a sound effect from you that's so far out of what you've received from their work that you find it exciting, and then we'll try and cross to Josh and Craig, who are on a mobile phone in a draft in a minute. So we've heard the ducks. What else comes to mind?
Well, one thing that I think is great, a really nice sound effect we grabbed was, and this is really down to 2006, and that was the guys, and they were in a bar in Italy, and Italy had just won the World Cup. A bar in Italy, right after discovering they won the World Cup.
They're excited, aren't they? We're talking about Project Harvest. In a moment we're going to cross and speak to Josh Gardner and Craig Loftus, who are in the field at the sharp end of this whole project, recording obscure sounds in order to create one of the best sound effects libraries in the world. Now, Johnny Byrne and Warren Hamilton are with us in the studio, and these are the instigators of the whole concept. If you're a blog fan, you can be delightfully welcomed each morning at smellyvan.com, and that'll keep you up to date, and you can see the delightful splendour these guys are travelling in. We've talked about the inspiration of the project. We've talked about some of the travelling which has been carried out so far, but we are talking a global production, so pretty soon they'll be in a market in Egypt.
Yeah, we've the guys have travelled around Britain. And that took about a couple of months, and now they're halfway. Well, they've covered the mainland Europe, and now they're into Eastern Europe. And coming back, rebrief, check what we've got, and move on the rest of the world. Yeah, they've just got their visas through now for Eastern Europe, which is great. So they're off to Bulgaria and then working their way back through Estonia and into Macedonia and then northern Greece before they start to tackle Russia and Asia, which is going to be the next step after that, working their way back. I can imagine if they get anywhere near the Caspian Sea, they've got to record oil while it's still refineries. Whilst we're still allowed to go and stand near them. Yeah, exactly. Right, okay, so that's Josh Gardner and Craig Loftus, and one or other of them is on the line at the moment. Hello.
Hello, it's Josh.
Okay, Josh. So whereabouts you standing at the moment on the planet?
I'm standing about 9 kilometres south of Oslo by a fjord.
So I have with me in the studio the perpetrators of this great pleasure going on in your life, Warren Hamilton and Johnny Byrne. All right, Josh.
Josh, I hope you're recording this.
So, why is it that travelling in such a smelly van is getting you a following for the blog readers?
I don't know really. I guess it's quite an unusual thing. I don't know if our stories are kind of interesting, but maybe, obviously, they are to some people.
Well, if it goes click in a minute, you'll know you're not. So I understand from our Ari, who, strange enough, is a girl, that we're going to be following your adventures around and about over the next coming months. So this is little more than the honeymoon period. So next time we get to speak, we'll have the opportunity to find out not only what you've seen, but more importantly what you've recorded, and maybe we could do a sidebar issue on the whole operation and think about what you've eaten.
We'll have to start taking notes of all that kind of information.
It could be useful because Ainsley Harriott can't last forever.
I don't know if Ainsley will be too interested in what we eat.
It's all got to be cooked on a camper van stove, though, hasn't it?
Yes. Well, what's the most ambitious thing you've done in that van in terms of cooking? He said.
Not a lot. We've got a microwave, so it's a lot of microwave food, to be honest.
So it's sort of average university food?
Yeah, hot noodles and that kind of thing, egg sandwiches.
All right. So whilst we've got you on the line, is there anything you want to say to Johnny and to Warren that might save your phone bill later on?
Not particularly.
Speak your mind, son.
Well, we'll be off to into Oslo again tomorrow, and then off to the fjord, further into the fjord, the glaciers and stuff.
Good. Well, we're a national radio station at talkSPORT, so do you want to say hello, Mum, hello, Dad?
Yes, it's hello, Mum and Dad in Cornwall, and hello to Annika in Shepherd's Bush.
Well remembered.
If Craig wants to say anything to anyone.
Yes, would you mind asking him? That's fine. Must be very lonely, actually. I mean, just the two of them. And
hello?
Hello, this is Craig, is it?
Yeah.
Mine boggles.
So,
I don't have any messages. Hello to Wally in London, in Highgate, and Terry. That's about it, really. The people I really know in London, apart from Joss.
Well, it's good that you guys are south of Oslo, because at least you're in the southern part of it. Just imagine you north of Oslo and it'd be really cold.
Yeah. Well, we'll probably be getting up towards the north later in the week.
Are you having to do stuff which is a bit Robinson Crusoe? You have to fix things like replace the tyres and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, as long as you stay within the budget, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Nice to talk to you two, and the next time we follow your adventures, you'll be talking to Ian Collins. So for me, Mike Allen, have a really good time, boys, and I wish you every success. Thanks very much for being with us.
Thank you very much.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye. Do you sometimes wake up and think, you know, these young lads, and you're responsible for them?
Well, yeah, yes and no. I do feel that, but also incredibly jealous as well. Because I wish someone had said to me when I was kind of 21 years old, hey, look, here's some money, go around the world over the next 2.5 years and record all these sound effects. So, but no, we do feel very responsible, but it's very important that we do this the right way. Every country they're going to, we're obtaining visas, permissions to do what we're doing, permissions to record.
Yeah.
So it's not as if we've said, here's a brief, go out there and fend for yourself. So we are looking after them. I mean, there is an element of risk, but we are looking after them. There are some places where they can't go.
I just think it's divine that there they are, and they're trusting in you, and they're up to their knees. Trusting.
Up to their hips.
Up to their hips then, in snow.
Yeah.
And I have to ask you this for people who like to do a bit of recording and provide stuff for their effects at home.
Yeah.
One of the burdens I can recall of recording outside is wind noise on the microphone.
Yeah.
And if you're recording something which is a bit delicate, you know, slightly less awesome than a tank, you can get this terrible blowy stuff. Is there a trick? I mean, what do you do?
Yeah, you have to wait for a calm day. I think there's obviously
that simple.
You need a big microphone with a big sock around it with lots of very soft hairs.
Yeah.
I think if people browse around the website, they'll see we've got many photos in there, and most of the mics are covered in a big piece of carpet, which kind of cuts down some of the noise.
Yeah, they've got a big selection of microphones there, long ones.
This is this special recording engineer carpet. This isn't your average.
Oh no, this isn't a piece of Allied. No, no. This is a very, very clever piece of. Because we're recording, we are let's not forget we are the only sound effects library in the world that's recording our entire library in 5.1. So that we can't wool it all over with carpet, but. Yeah, no, to cut out wind, we've got some pretty furry stuff.
Okay. Now, as a nation, up until now, we've been used to leaving the responsibility for collecting the sounds of the planet with the BBC. And it pauses me to ask, why have you taken on responsibility for it?
Have you listened to the BBC Sound Effects Library recently? I mean, it's...
No.
I think it stopped about, 10, 15 years ago? I'm not too sure.
Yeah. Well, they certainly lead the way in many forms of programming, but the actual...
All the buses still have a bell that goes ding ding.
The actual process of recording specific sound effects for the planet doesn't fall with the BBC anymore. It's very much an independent thing.
Yeah. Thanks for coming in to talk to us. It's really good. Thank you very much.
Pleasure, Mike.
And it's great that you're not taking it too mortally stone-faced. This is cast in stone. The sound of the Russian people will forever be with us.
Well, there is that as well. But
thank you,
Mike. Thank you for having us.
That's great.